Good morning, this is Jeff, Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 601 Southwest 7th Street here in Dundee, located at the front of the house. We are essentially straight out from the front door. We're offset just kind of to the right of it, just barely off to the right of the patio here, this walkway. You've got a 3-inch ABS clean out. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. I think I forgot to turn the water back on here. We're going to get water running. We'll zero out the foot counter. Off we go. Alright, off we go here. Water's running. We are zeroed out. Hard drop right out of the gate there. Making a transition right up ahead here to 3034 PVC. That's 4-inch diameter pipe there. Nice clean sewer line too. Very little buildup. It's nice to see. We'll take a second look at this joint on the way out. It looks like that joint, they either did, I think it's just from a rough saw cut. That little item that's kind of dangling down there kind of just looks like a pipe or a plastic burr. But we'll get a nicer view here as we come back out. There's a little bit of standing water. Very, very minor stuff though. And you got a couple of them in here, looks like. We'll see how they all drain out at the end. I don't assess bellies until there's no water running. That water can exaggerate a belly, make them look bigger than they are. I'm surprised this line is as long as it is, honestly. We sit so close to the road here. Must go to the opposite side of the street. About 52 feet to the main. We're going to let the line drain off here for a moment, and we'll take another look at things as we come back in here. Alright, you got the camera head located there. The line essentially runs dead straight all the way to the main. Like if you come out here right now, at least until they come and redo the street, you can see there's a big, very obvious patch in the road directly in line with the clean out. That patch is where the sewer line got installed and got cut into the street. Very shallow main, only 5 feet deep, 5 foot 1 inches. Your average main lateral by the time you get that, oh, my stinking foot counter's not working. I may have to review the video for the exact dimensions of the belly, or bellies I should say. Anyway, average main depth, when you're getting about 50 something, 60 feet out, you're usually in the 7 to 8 foot deep realm. So the other thing kind of not working super great in the favor of the line is the hard dive right out of the gate. When you nose dive the sewer line like that, that's where all your depth goes. It's one of those lines that, you know, and sometimes there's a reason for it. Sometimes they have to dive the line around other utilities. So right now my camera just flipped over here. There's a little bit of a lump in the flow line there, it almost looks like they may have sleeved an old sewer line that used to be here. There's other things that can cause that too, but anyway, the pipe is intact here, nothing's broken. Alright, so this last belly here dissipates off right at the street curb. Very shallow there, like 2 foot. I was getting around, it's hard to locate right on the face of the curb like that, but I was getting around 2 foot 8 to 2 foot 11 inches deep. Very shallow. So thus far that water line, again, my camera is upside down right now. Sorry if that's a little goofy looking. It doesn't bug my eyes, but anyway. That water line is not completely submerging the camera head. You've got somewhere around 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch of water there. There's very minimal buildup. There's a little bit of gunk there, most of which is going to be grease related, stuff that really shouldn't have gone down the line to begin with. And this line is not a terribly dirty line to begin with, but If grease does go down the pipe, and sometimes it's just mildew growth, stuff like that. Anytime you have water that stands somewhere, it promotes that kind of stuff to grow. Anyway, these are not significant enough thus far. We'll see if there's any more significant going on here, but in my opinion, require repair work. There's no evidence of backups, blockages, anything of the sort. Top of the pipe and sidewalls are both clean of any kind of significant buildup, and I wouldn't really expect to see significant stuff going on with bellies of this size. And by this size, I mean they're on the small end. The worst one you've got there is, I'll have to go back and do a little bit of reviewing, and if I can get my foot counter reset here, do my darndest, but that worst one there might be around 5 feet with half to 3/4 of an inch of water. So for reference, after doing almost 25,000 sewer scopes at this point in my career, and this is a rule I made a while back, just after watching enough sewer lines, I don't generally even consider repairs until there's at least a 5-foot section of pipe with at least 1 inch of water in it. That's static with no water running at all. Even at that point, I mean, the thousands and thousands of bellies I've seen like that, very, very rarely will you see a blockage occur in a 5-foot belly with 1 inch of water unless the homeowner is doing a bit on their end to help it along. And by that I mean where you get a bunch of grease buildup in the pipe that makes for sticky conditions, and usually what ends up finishing the job is someone either flushes 14 gigantic balls of toilet paper down the line or wipes, paper towels. It's a conjunction of issues, typically speaking. Alright, so the closer in one here runs from around 15 feet to about 17 feet. That one is extremely small. That's holding about a 1/16 of an inch, maybe a 1/4 of an inch of water. Maybe. And this one here, starts at about 24 feet. Yes, I can still see the top of the water line right there. It hasn't fully submerged my camera, even the lens of the camera, let alone the camera head. So that one's close enough there. I would say it's 24 to about 29 feet. And you're between about a 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch of water there. Without significant buildup in the line, the pipe's also not broken anywhere or busted. Everything's going down a very steep drop. The buildup in the line is very minimal. This is par for the course on lines with no bellies at all. These homeowners are doing a pretty nice job of keeping this line clean. The only reason you have any gunk in those locations at all is grease tends to concentrate more when it hits standing water. You get a little bit more of that around the standing water areas. So anyway, they're not significant enough in my opinion to warrant repairs. And what you have to do to fix this thing, you'd have to reinstall the entire line from at least the clean out to the street curb. For what you've got going on here, that's overkill for what you're dealing with. And that's my 2 cents on that. There's just not enough going on. I could barely recommend you clean the sewer line, to be honest with you. There's just not enough buildup in there. Sidewalls and top of pipe are both clean. There's a little bit of buildup on the sidewalls. Not the kind of buildup I'm looking for. When you get really thick ridges at the water line, and especially when you start getting gunk hitting the top of the pipe leading all the way back to the house, those are your indicators that a blockage has at least happened, and or a backup, none of which we have going on here. So anyway, I'm tempted to recommend cleaning, although the line barely even needs that. It's quite a clean sewer line. So we have adequate flow of the main lateral connection. All the pipe we just scoped there is intact. Nothing's busted or broken. One of the nice things about plastic pipe, it can settle to a incredible extent without breaking. Far more than you're seeing here. So Anyhow, sewer line is functioning out this time. Real quick before we got sidetracked running back out there to measure those. Alright, now we're going back towards the house here. And right here is where we go through the foundation wall. We're about 5 feet back inside the house right now. Everything from this point on is all exposed piping. That's all stuff the home inspector looks at. Anyway, not a absolutely perfect looking sewer line, but from a functional standpoint, line is functioning just fine. And about the only stuff you'll see consistently hanging up in bellies of that size right there is if you're feeding the line a pretty healthy diet of stuff that shouldn't go down it. You know, dumping a lot of cooking oil and grease down the pipe, improper items, wipes, paper towels, flushable wipes, things like that. It's that kind of stuff that has a little bit harder time getting to the belly, but these are bellies that can even handle a reasonable amount of abuse. Not that you should be doing that, but if someone does put the a paper towel down the line here and there, as long as it's not a giant football-sized wad of it, it's going to scoot through those areas with very little issue. So, anyhow, sewer line is functioning out this time. I do recommend cleaning on it. Might be a nice compromise there. There is a little bit of buildup, but it's again quite a clean sewer line. About the only area where there's any amount of buildup at all to speak of is in the bellied areas. The rest of the line is very clean. So not a huge deal if you didn't get that clean there. If you do a lot of cooking and you know grease, I don't beat anyone up because if they grease goes down some people's lines. Some folks know it. They just do periodic cleanings to keep it down to base, whether they have bellies or not. If you know a bit of oil and cooking oil and stuff like that's getting down the pipe, you can always re-scope in a year or two to see if you're getting any kind of buildup significant enough to warrant cleaning. But if you're treating this line even half decent, you're not going to see that kind of stuff occurring.